Hey guys, and welcome. I am Morgan Giss McDonald, founder and CEO of Paper Raven Books, and I have with us today author Randy Kleinman. Randy, thank you so much for being here with us.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And we are super excited because you are launching your newest book, A Logical Approach to Spirituality. And the subtitle, I love the subtitle, Shattering the Religious Paradigm and Finding Your Inner Truth. I mean, that's a powerful combination right there. Tell us a little bit about this book. Why did you feel inspired to write a book about spirituality?
Yeah, and what's interesting, Morgan, is you've been with me every step of the way, from inception when I had, some things in writing and, I felt a little stuck. So I think you have some unique insight there. But, I've always been a deeply spiritual person and not really a religious person. And I've also been a very private person, but over the years, when I got to know people or just talking to people, I realized that a lot of the beliefs I have and a lot of the things that I've studied and a lot of the research I've done are ideas that people share. But oftentimes I found that people hadn't heard of some of the concepts that I've studied. So I saw a need, or at least an opening for it. And I think also, I have this ostensible day job where I'm an attorney, and that's just, it's not, you don't necessarily equate that with spirituality. So I think if I needed to be honest with myself about who I am, which is part also a theme of the book. So it was kind of a cathartic and therapeutic thing for me to write, and I think it's sharing this logical approach to something that seems a little bit complicated to some people is something that maybe would resonate.
Yes, yes. I mean, what I love about your book, Randy, yes, we've been talking about this book for a while, you and I. And it's been amazing to see it really kind of come to fruition. And what I love about the way that you have put this book together is that for anyone who sees people talking about a spiritual experience or spiritual beliefs and kind of wondering, like, how is it that a normal, rational, logical person could embrace spiritual beliefs, you really meet us at that point of skepticism in a way. And maybe that's kind of the attorney training in you, that like we start from a place of skepticism and we really unpack and unroll, like, here are all of the reasons why you might open up to spirituality. And I would love for you to talk to us a little bit maybe about your story too, Randy, about like how did you personally kind of open up to this idea of spirituality?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot in there, and I think it was, just responding a little bit, it was really important for me to approach it in a really logical way, as if I were writing some kind of legal paper, because I think that's the only way to really make it make sense. And I think there's just so many books and so much out there that makes it very complicated, or that tries to change the way you live your life. And I just thought there's really no need for that. So that was definitely part of my goal. But I mean, what inspired my journey? When did it start? It definitely started when I was about 18 or 19 in college, and I had a couple of difficult experiences, and I think I felt a little lost. And I've always felt a little bit distant from the religion I was brought up in, and I've always felt there was just something a little off about all the rules that I felt were arbitrary and just the capricious nature of it. So I started just researching and reading, and I had a buddy that was really into it, and we would share books and we would talk about it, and I would just absorb as much as I could, while also being, a normal college kid doing stupid things. And I think that it definitely helped change my perception of just life in general. And I guess nearly 2 decades later now, I have. I still to this day try to read as much as I can, but I think the more I read and the more I tried to embrace the philosophies and the spiritual practices, the more I felt at ease with just life, which can be pretty difficult sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the main principles that you talk about in the book, especially kind of at the beginning of the book, is the law of one. Would you mind kind of like giving us a little bit of preview about maybe some of the foundational sort of spiritual principles that have been most impactful for you that you cover inside the book?
Yeah, and what's interesting is the law of one is something that's even for me on the newer end of what I've been studying. But once I came across it, I thought, oh, this makes sense. And I mean, it's simple, right? At the end of the day, really, it just says that everything is just part of the same thing. We're all connected. We share a consciousness, and that consciousness is the foundational building block of everything that exists. And there's a lot more to it, but that really at its essence is all it is. So that's really the only absolute that I sort of believe in or that I advocate, because otherwise I think, the another underlying theme is that spirituality can be anything you want it to be. It's spirituality a la carte. It's pick and choose, make it work for you. But that foundational principle is just that, hey, be nice to each other, because we're all really just connected. And if we take a step back from all the stress and all the things that divide us, then we can just use this as kind of a guiding principle to really just make us feel more connected with each other and also in turn ourselves.
Yeah. I kind of love that you describe it as like spirituality a la carte, because I mean, what you provide is, yes, I mean, something like the law of one is advocated by many people, whether they're religious or not religious, or just kind of in tune with kind of the human experience. Like, yeah, there is some sort of like common ground, like unity that we're all feel called to be a part of. And then beyond that, there are a lot of different ways of expressing or trying out or testing out, essentially, like if you want to think of it that way, different aspects of spirituality. And so then kind of many of the chapters of your book go through some different aspects of spirituality. It's almost like if someone's like, okay, Randy, I'm curious. I'm a little skeptical, but I'm curious. Kind of lay out the options for me. It's kind of what the book does. Would you agree with that in a way, or counter it?
No, I totally agree, and that was the whole point. The point really was to give a broad overview, and I give some detail on on all the topics, but it really was to give a broad overview of many different things that I found the most interesting about spirituality. And you can write a book on any one of those chapters probably in and of itself, but I thought that this is a great introductory book. And I really, I think I say in the beginning too, what I really want to do is encourage people to go out and to learn more on their own. And maybe I'll write more books and maybe I'll do more too, but I want to encourage this discourse between people and have everyone want to do their own research. So exactly. So I gave a lot of different topics, and some of them are more esoteric than others, but that's the whole point, and take what you want and throw away the rest.
Yeah. So if you guys are with us and you're like, okay, I'm interested in spirituality, or maybe I'm skeptical, maybe I've dipped my toe in the water, maybe I'm spiritual and I'm wanting to give a book to somebody else in my life. Good news is you can grab a free copy today. So because Randy's launching the book this week, we are giving away free copies of the ebook. You can go to paperravenbooks.com/a logical approach to spirituality. That is linked right next to this video. So you can just click the link next to this video and go grab a free copy today. If you have a friend who you kind of want to engage in a spiritual, inquiry with them, maybe you want them to, have a little bit more background knowledge on spirituality and be curious about it. This is a great introduction to how I can call you normal, right, Randy? A normal, rational, kind of logical thinking person would approach spirituality. So it's very, it's, I don't want to say primer, but it provides that kind of nice buffet of here's all the things that you could think about with spirituality. And Randy, if we were to tease somebody with like maybe one concept from the book that you're like, that was actually a really fun spiritual concept to write about, is there anything that you think might pique our interest?
Well, I mean, I'd be remiss if I didn't at least talk about how I connect the concept of extraterrestrials and spirituality, and how it can maybe spirituality and being spiritual probably leaves open the possibility that there are other beings out there and that it connects us all. So I think that's certainly germane and interesting.
I will admit that is one of the sections of the book that sticks in my memory for sure. Is like your description of so teaser guys. Randy gives us some historical sort of like hard to dispute facts on some extraterrestrial interesting moments and connects them philosophically to like how this could be a part of a spiritual perspective. So if that piques your interest and you want to dive into some things that maybe people think about but don't talk about in kind of normal life very often, this is gonna be an interesting read. So go to paperravenbooks.com/a logical approach to spirituality. Grab your free copy today. Start digging in. We think you're really gonna enjoy it. And Randy, we've mentioned that you're an attorney, and so I'm wondering, what was it like to write a book that was not about anything that any of your expertise that you've acquired as an attorney? What was that like to write this?
Well, from a personal perspective, it was definitely therapeutic to, I guess, live and be who I really am inside. But it's weird. I have to say it's weird, and I feel very vulnerable. I'm a private person. I really am, and this is, and it's a theme that I talk about in my book a bunch of times, and it's being true to yourself, true, living your truth. So if I'm going to live my truth, this is my way of doing it. So it's been an interesting journey, but at the same time, it's really nice to maybe write and talk about things that aren't law related.
Yeah, yeah. And what about, so we've been prepping to launch the book for a few months now, and part of any author's journey is kind of telling people in your life that you've written this book. what was it like to kind of out yourself as like, okay, I'm telling real people in real life that I've written a book that has nothing to do with being an attorney? How was that experience for you?
Well, I think you can attest to this, that I did not struggle one bit. This was the easiest thing I did. I've never had any doubts. No, yeah, I mean the opposite's true, right? I mean it's tough, and the whole time it's you tell yourself, you ask yourself, am I crazy? Am I wasting my time? Is this stupid? Why am I doing this? I can't, who cares what I think? And then you overcoming that and realizing that that's the whole point. And so yeah, it was a very introspective journey, and there was ups and there was downs, and you were certainly there for some of those, both of those things. And I'm so thankful and grateful for you and your guidance, especially your book, which really catalyzed it really was that, got me through the home stretch and helped me align my thoughts and be more organized and really motivated and encourage me that I can do this too. So I mean that. And but yeah, for those who are aspiring, just do it. Set aside that time, write, be dedicated, and even if you think it's silly, it's not. There's an audience out there, and just for your own edification and for your own, just to prove to yourself you can do it. You can. Anyone can do it.
So good. So good. And, I guess I would love to know from your perspective now that you're like, in the middle of launching this book, what do you hope happens? What do you hope that, I mean, I know you and I have talked about this sort of privately, but like when you think about your life as an author, and you even mentioned like just a few minutes ago, like maybe there'll be more books, I don't know. Like, what do you hope could happen on the back of launching this book if kind of all the stars align and everything works out?
Oh, wow. Well, I do hope to write more books, and I hope to gain a following, and I hope to inspire others. I really hope that I open people's eyes to these topics and to these conversations, and that it can be a more mainstream and less esoteric thing to discuss. And that, I would love to speak about it and just really just be out there talking, but again, encouraging others to embrace and talk about these things as well.
Yeah, that's it. Like we talk about, the process of writing the book, and that is a huge part of becoming an author. And also, becoming an author in a certain extent, like means that you're willing to host a conversation. You know, that this topic, these stories that you share in the book are so important to you that you want to bring other people in with you, bring them into the conversation, help them to have their own inspirational moments, their own discoveries, their own epiphanies. And it's really kind of hosting a new conversation in this topic. And I really see that as inevitable for you, Randy, to be honest.
Thanks, Morgan. I appreciate that. And again, I encourage people, and my emails in the book, to reach out to me. Let me know what you think, what you agree with, what you disagree with, what you want to know more about, what you'd love for me, maybe what you'd love for another book to be. That's the whole point. I would love for that.
Totally. Okay, so having gone through this whole process, you know, I know it's been a multi-year process at this point, but you're right on the edge. Like the book is coming out, it's in the middle of launching. When you look back to maybe a younger version of yourself, a version of yourself that was thinking about writing a book, do I have what it takes? What is this going to be like? Is there any lesson that you've learned or any piece of wisdom that you might give to a younger version of yourself to kind of help get through some part of this process of becoming an author?
Wow. Yeah, I mean, that's tough. I would say, I would tell myself, you got this, kiddo. You know, just visualize the end and you will get there, and stay the course.
So good. Visualize the end.
That's it. Always.
Always. I love that. Well, I just want to say thank you, Randy, for writing this book. I know it takes a ton of courage. Like, this is a very deeply personal topic of your own spirituality. You tell about your own story, and you took the time to like write it out when this is not your day job, right? Like your day job is completely different, and yet you carved out the time. You shared pieces of yourself, you put them into a book, and I think it's going to inspire so many people. I think it's going to open up a lot of people's journeys to experience spirituality in a totally new way. So it takes a huge amount of courage, huge amount of perseverance. And so thank you for writing this book and releasing it to all of us.
Oh, thank you, Morgan. I really could not have done it without you.
That's awesome. Well, we were definitely brought together.
I agree with that.
I can't wait for you to experience the other side of being an author when someone else reaches out to you in an email and is like, you know, that one random line that you wrote on page 42 changed my life. And you're like, wow, I did not see that coming. It's a pretty magical experience. So that's,
I look forward to it. I'm sure it's humbling.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. All right, folks. Grab your copy of A Logical Approach to Spirituality right now. Do it while you're here, while you're listening to us, while you're thinking about it. Just go to paperravenbooks.com/A Logical Approach to Spirituality. Grab your free copy today. Share it with a friend if you have a friend who loves to geek out on spirituality, or someone who's a little bit more skeptical and maybe they need, a more approachable introduction. This is going to be perfect for opening them up to it. So go ahead and grab a copy today. And Randy, any last words for folks who are going to be reading your book?
I think you said it all. Grab a copy. It's free.
Perfect. All right. We will see you guys next time. Bye, everybody.